Are you ready to hear how Japan went from zero to a mighty empire? I've got a juicy history tidbit for you. So, let's rewind the clock back to 14,000 BC. Picture this, islands at that time known as Wakoku, modern-day Japan. People from all over the map flocking to this seriously cool spot. Hokkaido is the ultimate place to be. It is like a foodie paradise. You've got acorns, chestnuts, and walnuts aplenty in the lush forests, and thanks to rising sea levels, fish and shellfish are practically throwing themselves at you. It's a food bonanza. Some came from Siberia, chasing big prey to eat like a bunch of big game hunters. Others sailed in from the south, either through Korea or those southern islands, bringing with them some serious skills in making fancy stone tools. Imagine a melting pot of different ethnic groups from all over Eurasia, coming together to form something totally unique. All these unique ethnic mixture forms are what we call the Jomon period. Many Jomon people had a mix of different features, like a crazy genetic mashup. While most had those classic Mongoloid features seen in East, Southeast, and Northeast Asians, some tribes rocked a more Caucasian-like look. The Jomon people formed small communities, like tight-knit families, hanging out together and doing their thing, hunting, gathering, and fishing. They settled in places that were super convenient for their lifestyle. Think of plateaus near water bodies, the perfect spots to do their hunting and fishing. And their homes? They were called Taite-Anajukyo, and they were pit dwellings dug about 50 centimeters into the ground. To do their job, they had a bunch of cool tools in their arsenal. We're talking about ground stone tools, bone tools made from animal horns or fish bones, and even wooden tools like boats and bows. The Jomon people weren't just survival experts, they had some serious green thumbs too. Archaeologists discovered that they were cultivating roots, beans, and tree nuts. They even traded their goodies with other settlements, making connections far and wide. When it was time to become grown up, they would pull certain teeth in a coming-of-age ritual called bashi. And when it was time to say goodbye to this world, they would bury their dead with their limbs all cozily folded, like they were ready for a little nap. Nature was their jam, and they worshipped it like rock stars. Superstition and fortune-telling were a big part of their lives. They had these little clay figurines called dogu, kinda like Lucky Charms or prayer items for family success and bountiful harvests. The Jomon people were like master artists, creating mind-blowing pottery that would make any art lover's heart skip a beat. Forget just slapping paint on a pot, they used their hands and tools to bring their wildest imaginations to life. They carved out animals, plants, little human figures, and even pots, bowls, and vases. Thick, brownish pottery covered in crazy rope-like patterns, so iconic that the whole era was named after them. The Jomon people had their way of Pacific life, but things got wilder when the Yayoi people arrived around 300 BC. Did they kick the Jomon folks to the curb? Nah. Instead, they interacted and intermixed with the local Jomon communities. Over time, this cultural exchange led to the formation of a new hybrid culture, blending elements from both the Yayoi and Jomon traditions. The Yayoi believed to have migrated from the Asian mainland, brought with them game-changing goodies. First up, they introduced the magical art of rice cultivation. These Yayoi knew how to work the land, turning it into lush rice paddies that fed the growing population. It was like a Neolithic revolution on steroids. And hey, they didn't stop there. They also knew their way around metallurgy, welding bronze, and iron weapons and tools like boss warriors. These new technologies gave people greater efficiency and opened up new possibilities. The Yayoi period was a time of explosive population growth. Japan went from a humble Jomon crew to a whopping 10 times larger Yayoi party. Estimates vary, but we're talking about millions of people roaming the islands. With this population boom came some big changes. Society got stratified, meaning there were distinct social classes. And let's not forget about the intense tribal warfare. These Yayoi folks weren't afraid to defend their turf, building fortified structures and staking out segregated grave sites. And as time went on, the Yayoi tribes started to coalesce into powerful kingdoms. We're talking about 100 kingdoms, according to the ancient Book of Han. And hold on, because there's even a legendary female monarch named Himiko, a trailblazing lady who rocked the scene like a boss. She was the original first power woman, ruling the legendary Yamato kingdom for 6 decades. But hey, historians are still debating the deets on that one. As Yayoi was becoming a more sophisticated society, Japan was going through some major changes, as the country gradually unified under a single territory. That's how the Japanese Kanfu period began. The leaders of this new Japan were flexing their muscles and showing off their power with some seriously impressive burial mounds called Kofun. These Kofun burial mounds were no joke, they were massive. Imagine the Daizenryo Kofun, a huge burial mound that stretched a whopping 486 meters long. It was shaped like a keyhole, and it took a small army of workers 15 years to complete. But it wasn't just the size that made these burial mounds special. They were surrounded by all sorts of Hanua clay sculptures. And we're not talking about cute little figurines here. These sculptures took the form of mighty warriors and majestic horses. It's like a scene straight out of an epic battle. Now, let's talk about the power players of the Kofun period. The big shots were ruling from Yamato, the center of this unified state where things were popping from around 250 AD until the 4th century. It was a time of powerful clans and local chieftains ruling the land. You had places like Kibi, Izumo, Koshi, Kenu, Chikushi, and Hai, each with its autonomy and swag. These Yamato rulers were no ordinary folks, they were part of a hereditary line of emperors, and get this, they still hold the record for being the world's longest dynasty. To expand their influence, the Yamato rulers used a clever strategy. Instead of just conquering through military might, they convinced local leaders to join their team. It was like a power-sharing deal. These local leaders became known as the Uji and got positions of influence in the government. It's like saying, hey, join us, and you'll get some say in how things are run. These clans made a tribal alliance called the Yamato Court. This was where the action happened. They had some serious power over the clans in Kyushu and Honshu. They handed out titles like candy, making clan chieftains feel like superstars. The Yamato name became synonymous with Japan as they put the other clans in their place and grabbed some sweet farmland. The Yamato rulers were no ordinary folks. They took inspiration from China, adopting their writing system and learning the ways of administration. These clans had their own specialties. The Soga clan was all about governance, politics, and administration. The Otomo and Mononobe clans were the muscle, and the Nakatomi and Inbi clans handled the rituals. The Yamato rulers were not satisfied with being local legends. They wanted to make a name for themselves on the international stage. So, they went for gold and sought recognition from none other than China. Chinese accounts actually mention 5 successive leaders as the 5 kings of Wa, giving the Yamato rulers some serious street cred. The Kofun period saw a major exchange of knowledge and skills with China and Korea. Craftsmen and scholars from these neighboring lands brought in some cool continental technologies and administrative know-how. Japan during the Kofun period was like a roller coaster ride of power, grand burial mounds, diplomatic connections, and epic rivalries. Oh guys, subscribe to see part 2 where things in Japan are gonna go wild. I'm posting every week, so hit that bell button so you don't miss anything.